day of Jesus' crucifixion, he would spend the early hours going sort of from court to court, Pilate to Herod, things like that. But the actual torture and beating would have most likely started at a place called the Antonia Fortress, which is sort of in the eastern part of the old city. There he would have been, as we know, scourged, beaten horribly, mocked, and then eventually given the cross. And from there he would have left the Antonia Fortress, he would have left the city and been taken out of the city to be killed. So he then would have been brought here. On the day of his crucifixion, Jesus would have been led, carrying the cross from the Antonia Fortress to the place of crucifixion. Very likely that would have happened right around here. So I'm standing in the garden tomb. If I had to guess where Jesus was crucified, and we don't know, to be clear, I would guess it was happening just right over, sort of to my left in front of me, at the Golgotha that they have there. I think that for a lot of reasons. First off, we know that was a place of other kinds of crucifixion at that time. Certainly stonings were done there. It's also a part of Mount Moriah. And if you remember when Isaac is offered, a statement is made in the Bible. It says God will provide on this mountain. And so for that reason, I kind of think that maybe that's a part of what happened there. But wherever it took place, what happened was brutal. Some of the pictures we have in our heads from sort of Western art and culture aren't really accurate with the events. First off, there's no grassy knolls or hills around here. Everything's hard and rocky and tough terrain. So Jesus wasn't on a pretty little grassy hill to be crucified. As a matter of fact, I don't think he was on a hill at all. If you study Roman history, they virtually always crucified on roadsides. And there were two roads that passed through this area. There was one that went east and west along the front of the city of Jerusalem heading down towards Jericho, and one that passed out of the city going north. As a matter of fact, just behind the camera right now is a place called Damascus Gate, and the road coming out from the city towards Damascus to the north passed by here also. And so it would have been a major thoroughfare, and this is where Romans like to do crucifixions and executions. So they wanted to make a display to scare people. And another thing that I think is maybe not exactly accurate in how we visualize it is I don't really believe Jesus was crucified on the hill at all, because Romans always crucified on roadsides. And so if you look at your Gospels, not a single one of them says on Golgotha or Calvary. They all say at. I believe it was at the foot of the hill along the roadside, and that passersby would have been passing just mere feet from him as he was dying, basically of blood loss and exhaustion. And something else that comes across in the scripture is that on 2 or 3 occasions it says he cried out with a loud voice. But that means that generally he wasn't speaking in a loud voice because he was struggling just to breathe. And if you think of how horrendous that was, beaten, humiliated, hanging there, probably just feet just inches off the ground, not high up like we see it. In that situation, I can only think how I would feel, and the anger and the frustration and desperation, but Jesus doesn't do any of that. What is so striking to me is that from the cross, as he's dying, everything Jesus says shows concern and love. He looks at Mary and John and says, John, this is your mother. Mary, this is your son. Take care of each other when I'm gone. And he looks up to the Father, and he prays for the people that are killing him, and then he has these 2 thieves that are dying next to him, and he leads one to salvation from the cross. And I just am in awe that what he was doing for all of us, when he was suffering for all of us, and in the midst of all that, the character of love that comes through, and that's who I want to follow. And I'm so thankful the story doesn't end there. The story's end up in a much better place, and we'll share all that with you guys on Sunday. All right, bye.
This video is brought to you by Jerusalem School Bethlehem Media Team. Here at JSB, we provide a Christ-centered education to the community of Bethlehem. If you'd like to know about us more, please follow our social media or visit our website. Stay tuned for our next episode of This is the Holy Land.